So, are you here fully present or are you just existing, hopping from one thing to the next, only looking forward at what's next? Well, we're here to talk about that.
Hey, go. Asteroid of fear.
And welcome to another episode of the Men of the House podcast, and it is Unfiltered Friday. We're going to talk a little bit today about being present. Yes, this is a subject that has been rolling around in my mind probably for about the past couple of weeks. And yeah, there's a little sugar or something on the top of the rim of the coffee there. Anywho, welcome to another episode of the Men of the House podcast. It is Unfiltered Friday. And let's talk about being present. That's right. In the doula world, they say that presence is the highest form of authenticity. Um, as you guys know, just be like the hat I'm wearing, be authentic, they'll adjust. Be humble, be present, be gracious. I think, I don't know, I want to say that presence is something that has been, let's say, a topic of, hmm, everybody always talks about being present, but it's almost more like a tagline or a slogan, like virtue signaling. I don't know that people really take the opportunity to be present when they have to. I mean, I think some people, is anybody here familiar with flow state? So there is a book called Flow by Mihaly someone. He's got a long last, difficult name to pronounce. I had to read it in college, and it talked about reaching a flow state. It's kind of this where nothing else matters. You're totally in the moment. They say a lot of people, like surgeons, when they're doing a long surgery, you have to be fully focused in. I'm sure musicians get in that flow state. I know, like, if you've ever jammed with anyone, it's easy. Well, I wouldn't say it's easy to get into flow state, but that's where the magic is going to happen when everybody's present and kind of listening to each other, riffing off each other. No pun intended. Get it? Guitar riffs. Maybe only the musicians will get that. But nonetheless, yeah, it's about being present, reaching flow state. Some activities, um, I'm kind of curious if you can. Yeah, I'm sure you could reach it in exercise. Although I feel like during exercise, typically you are kind of trying to escape, if that makes sense. I know, like if I go for a jog or something and I'm huffing and puffing and sucking wind, then I'm probably, who knows what I'm thinking about. But it is not being present with the pain. It is probably singing a song, something like that. Which, interestingly enough, I heard that something about like singing one of your favorite songs uh, while you're in pain helps to kind of dismiss the pain or get you through it. And that kind of reminded me of boot camp. You know, when you're getting smoked all the time, eight down, eight counts, 8 count bodybuilders push ups till they get tired. And you're like, interestingly enough, like you don't hear music in boot camp, or at least in the 90s we didn't. We didn't have computers, streaming. You used calling cards, all that kind of jazz. So things were much more simpler, I guess you could say. But, when I got to boot camp, it's like, I don't know if it was the shock and awe of all the people, the new experience, whatever it was. I could not remember music for the life of me. For the life of me, I cannot remember. We were merely freshmen in boot camp. Yeah. Uh, but I cannot remember any any songs. I was an avid music listener, big time. I mean, master puppets on cassette. You know, music was a huge deal to me. And here I was, stuck, couldn't remember a song. But the only guitar riff I could remember during boot camp was Brown Eyed Girl by Van Morrison. And Trent Parada. No, I don't think it was Trent Parada. He might have been a college person I knew. But there was a. No, it wasn't Parada. Maybe it was. Maybe I'm getting the school and boot camp mixed up. But whoever he was, he wrote down the lyrics to Brown Eyed Girl on a piece of paper. And that was the only song I could remember through boot camp. Hey, where did we go? Days when the rains came down in the hollow, playing a new game, laughing and a running, hey, hey, skipping and a jumping, all along the misty morning, with our hearts a thumping, and you, my brown eyed girl, da 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 da, you're my brown eyed girl. Do you remember when we used to run my miles and miles and miles and miles and miles away? That's a joke. That's a little boot camp joke, little boot camp ditty. Yeah, so that's all I could remember. And when the pain was coming, that's what was going through my head. So there might be some validity to that whole singing, having a hum, a song going through your head while you're suffering might be the key to suffering less and or being present. But back to presence, I've started to notice like that is one of my biggest things. Um, it kind of follows this line of thinking that I've had for a while in terms of, my entire life. Everybody, it was always about what's next, looking forward. When you're a kid, you can't wait to be an adult, right? When you're 18 and a quote unquote adult legally, then you can't wait to be 21 so then you can drink alcohol. You know, if you're in college, then you're looking to graduate. Um, you're always like looking ahead. What's the next step? Then you're going to graduate and get that job, that corporate job. And once you get in there, then you're going to make rank. You're going to move up. You can go from manager to director to VP, but it's constantly up, forward, up, forward. And, that was one of these things as a kid where, like, my parents, or my dad at least, was always pushing me, like, the next thing, the next thing. I mean, even when I was in martial arts, it's like the next belt. Oh, when I get that belt. And I suppose the future is good to look at those things when you have goals and you're trying to reach them. When you're trying to get to a future destination, you need to look at said destination. You need to know where it's at. You need to know what it's going to take to get there. But it's the process you have to enjoy, just like daily habits. The daily habit of exercise eventually equates the byproduct of being in shape. And so it's about those daily things you got to check off, daily habits. And I think with some of those, you need to be present. You need to enjoy them. Um, you know, it's like sometimes we can sit down and go through so many tasks and be looking at the next task and thinking about the next things that we're not present in what we're doing. And we make mistakes. We overlook things because we're just trying to get through it, as opposed to slowing down, being present, and working it and trying to enjoy it. And I guess even if you can't enjoy it, then be present in the pain, be present in the suffering. That way, when you're no longer suffering, you're aware and you're present. It's like I suffer with terrible sciatica pain, and it can go on for days, and it's miserable, soul crushing, and it messes with my sleep. And so I'll be tired and in pain and so hard to be present. Then all of a sudden, I'll find myself kind of being present. I'm like, hey, what's going on? It's not the presence it's the presence I notice, but then I'm like, oh, it's gone. We don't want to jinx it though. Yeah, don't want to jinx it. But you're like, oh shit, the sciatica's gone. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. But yeah, that's a type of presence. If I'm not present while Ubering, I miss a turn. Did it the other day. Was talking to my wife. Missed the turn. Had to back up. Had to make a Yui. Whatever the case may be. But, you know, let's talk about the most important presence. And that's with each other. That's kind of it's the most important one. Um, One, to ensure things don't get missed. But two, out of respect and love for humans, for one another, especially if you're talking to a friend, a partner, a spouse. Being present with them is huge. I was telling my wife, I mean, one of the things I love about intimacy is that is a time where we're fully present with each other, or should be. But slowing it down to that kind of level. But it needs to happen in other areas too. It needs to happen in conversation. It needs to happen. I mean, there's just so many distractions around from social media, TV, squirrel. Everybody's got ADD these days. Everything's competing for your attention. Everyone, it seems like everything is trying to sell you something. I mean, from a billboard on the highway to commercials coming across Spotify, YouTube, podcasts, you know, I would say time is probably our most important commodity because none of us know how much of it we have. It's something none of us can buy more of unless you're Magic Johnson. Um, it's, none of us know how much of it we got. That's what kind of makes it precious and valuable. And it's going to run out at the end. And you don't know when. And you're going to have a last conversation interaction with everyone in your life. So you need to make them count. How can you do that? Well, about by being fucking present, not giving in to the bullshit around you of everybody who's fucking vying for your attention. And, you know, especially married couples being present with each other. It's easy to get lost in all the shit you got to do for the family, for kids, for this, for that, and forget about each other. And then by the end of the day, you're exhausted. Like I tell my wife, it's like sometimes we're getting each other at the end of the day after everybody's already had their fucking cut, you know? And then we show up for each other at the end of the day, not in our best selves, not being able to be fully present because she's been working all day. I've been working all day. We've been dealing with people. And sure, your brain wants to shut down a little bit. It wants to take a breather. It's tired of filing, reconciling, all that stuff. And yeah, it can be rather difficult unless you make the effort. But it's like I had been trying to put my finger on kind of this concept about what is it that bothers me. I mean, just like this morning, my wife and I were having a conversation. What some might be consider close to having a moment, and the fucking phone goes off. It's my aunt asking if my wife is gonna go clean my uncle's because he's having new flooring and shit installed. But right before this podcast, I mean, yeah, that brought down my mood because I was attempting to be present with my wife and it got fucking interrupted. And then we weren't able to recapture or go back to that presence. So you have to protect it. You know, they always say, what, protect your peace? Well, peace and presence, those are like, hmm, similar. Because sometimes if peace is what you're seeking, then in that present moment, it's like, oh, they are the same thing, one and the same. But yeah, I think it's the thing I love about, I don't mean to sound morbid, but when I do caregiving for people, when I was caregiving for Buck, when you're around people who are actively transitioning, there is nowhere other than to be them present. When you're caregiving for somebody who's a fall risk and who requires you for everything, you have to be present. Parents, think about it with your children. I think about this with my own father. My own father was successful financially, and I never wanted for anything. And, but there was something he never got, and that was I wanted his time, his presence, not what he could buy me. Sure, it was great that I could have this kind of car or whatever, but it wasn't about that. And when I went away to boot camp and I would have to do my thought of the day every day, it was usually something related towards me being pissed at my dad because he was never present. He was a slave to a pager, always being beeped. All and same when I was a manager on call. It's fucking hard to be present with your family because especially when you run a clinic that's got an urgent care and it's open on weekends and you're out, yeah. Or when I went to Disney and you're doing payroll from Disney because you're like, you don't want to hand it off to another manager or whatever it is. But constantly, I think the present moment is all we have. And by the time you have that, it's already gone. It's already the past. But I think being present with each other, it's one of these things that gets kind of missed because we're too busy looking at our phones. We're too busy thinking about the future, thinking about later. But I mean, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, it's like, hey, you're going to get the same ending, and regardless of what's on the wall or in the account, what trophies are on your mantle. And so it's relationships, connectivity with others. That's what matters. But then being able to show up and be present within those relationships is just taking it to the next level. Is the most important thing. I mean, I got to go get my brakes done after this. They could fail. I could get in a car wreck. This could be the last you ever see or hear of me, you know? So, hopefully that brought you to a presence. Once you realize that shit is finite, it's limited, life is short, it's chicken today's feathers tomorrow. Having seen all the death I have, I understand the value of life, the value of moments, the value of presence. It's all you got are these moments. So think about that. Go out and practice being present today. Wherever you are, there you are. But be there. You know, even if things are boring, try to be present. Look the person in the eyes. If you can't do that, look at their forehead or their eyebrows. It'll look like you're looking in their eyes. But yeah, go out and be present with one another. Be present in your relationships. Be present with yourself. Next time you sit down to engage in an activity, really hone in. Seek out that flow state. Whether you're painting a picture, coloring, playing guitar, you'll be a guest on the Men of the House podcast someday. Another reason I love podcasting, it requires that presence. Although there is an element of anticipation, of wanting to ask questions. However, in order to engage in a conversation, and like I like to keep like a format, a general format, but I like the conversation to go wherever it goes, wherever it needs to go. But you can only do that if you're present, you're listening, so you can feed off of and, uh, you know, ask questions off of what the other person was saying. But yeah, that's why I love podcasting. That's why I love intimacy. That's why I love caregiving. Perhaps why I love the ER. There's no other way. I also did a lot of kitchen work, and you got to be present in the kitchen too. I mean, because it is, even though you're kind of like what's forward, you can only think about what's going on now, what's cooking now, what's about to burn, what ticket needs to come out now. So you got to be in it. Kitchen is another place you can reach flow state 100%. So, yeah. And all my jobs have been similar, as you can see. They've all had some themes of fast paced, chaos, rough around the edges, um, yet thriving. And that element of community, of course. Yeah. As my man Scotty G would say, just be present. So I challenge you. Just take account when you're in conversations, when you're talking with others. Are you present? Are they present? Give it a whirl. Practice. Tell your partner, hey, let's talk. Let's try to be present with each other. Men and women. Or women, men to men. Whatever your arrangement is. I don't care. I don't care what you are. I care who you are. Okay? But I don't know where I heard this piece of advice, but it was like, just when you're with your partner, sit there and make eye contact. When you're talking with one another, make eye contact. That'll help you be present. Speaking of, I did have to make some eye contact this week. Yours truly shot a commercial. Yeah, with a name like Richard, having a nickname or moniker like Dick, it's only appropriate that they choose me to shoot a commercial regarding erectile dysfunction. uh, yeah, but it was cool. It was from they do like men and women's health, and I was talking about Apex. I guess it's a type of machine, like a wand. It looks like a rolling karaoke machine with a mic, but they do vaginal rejuvenation, but they also do I guess ED type stuff by dilating the vessels in your male and female genitalia areas. Um, but, don't think of it only as a sexual component. I mean, for men and women older, you hold your pee too long, your bladder stretches out. Pretty soon you're an old person and you get leakage, and you need a bladder sling or, you know, I'm turning 50 in a couple of weeks. The flow doesn't come out as strong as it used to, or maybe it takes a minute to start going. Those are all, whether it's prostate or urinary, but they're all within that reproductive type area of the body. And this commercial was that. And, it's not just, people think of it as like, oh, ED uh, type of thing, but no, think of it as getting up to have to go pee in the middle of the night, how that impacts your quality of sleep. And then as you age, and what if you can't get up? But then also, what happens is people age, they get up in the dark to go to the restroom and they fall. So, getting up in the middle of the night to urinate frequently can be a fall risk. And if you're already a fall risk, then hey, this might be a procedure worth checking out. But they do the TRT, they do, I'm sure, whatever it is, like the whole Blue Chew type of thing. And, but with this, having a procedure or procedures over time, I guess it's like laser hair removal. You might need three uh, sessions, is kind of what they recommend. But to begin with, however, typically, um, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But anyway, the point is that yes, it's much more than ED type stuff. It's men and women's reproductive and or urinary tract health and everything that can lead to. And so I got to shoot a commercial, which was super cool. First time experience. Um, the camera crew, film people were nice. Shout out to what is it? Smarter Choice Medical for having me, and Gorilla Johnson for choosing me, and Tama, the lady I met and got a chance to talk to, which was great. Um, that was the other cool part about doing this little commercial, was meeting other people, conversing with them, talking about what's coming, what's coming down the pike, telling her about the podcast, telling her about becoming a death doula. And we got to talk a little bit about that, as she told me her husband had passed a couple of years ago and her mother not that long ago. So we bonded over that, and it was great. I was able to be present. Back to presence. Ah, the other part this week. I started Ubering people. I know when most people think of Uber, they think of people. I've been doing Uber Eats for about 3 years. However, I did decide, I was trying to reach a bonus and said, fuck it. I'm going to give it a whirl. And picked up my first passenger. And then they just kept coming. And it wasn't that bad. So the next day I went and made the car look nicer. It was dark, so it didn't matter as much. But dappered it up a little bit. Now I'm taking both people and items and goods. But the highlight was the other day I took a gentleman to work at a convenience store, and then I got a little Uber to take somebody from the grocery store to their house. And when I got there, it was an 83-year-old lady with her cart. And so I brought her down the ramp. I loaded her groceries in my car for her, and told her, you go ahead and get in the car and I'll take care of the rest. Ran the buggy back up, but had a great conversation with her on the way. And um, helped her get her stuff in the house. And that was kind of the highlight of that day. And thus far, pretty close to the highlight of my week. There was one other highlight, but only my wife knows that one. And that's between us. Mhm. But yeah, getting to pick up, that's something I would probably do for free. It's like an 83-year-old grandma needs a ride, but hell, I'm even impressed that she's able to use Uber. I mean, that's pretty cool. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. And now I'm back on the people, which means Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays. Maybe I'll start later because I might want to stay up and hit the drunkies. Of course, I do need to get some emesis bags. Just in case. Just in case. You never, ever know. Also, the other day I delivered to Sanderson Farms chicken plant, and let me tell you what, the line to get in that place, the warehouse, was redonkulous. And I was like, oh, shift change too? I don't know that I ever want to do that again. And the guy's like, make sure you park in guest parking. Otherwise, it'll be a pain in the ass to get out because there's security. It's a big warehouses and stuff. And so, um, got that kind of, got him delivered and I'm getting ready to leave. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun navigating, getting out of here. But at least the traffic was going the opposite way. However, I got a little ding and somebody was getting off and needed a ride home. So I got to pick up at the same location I dropped off, and um, boom, turned out to be pretty good. Worked out. It's like same way if I can hold out and get a delivery to drive home, get paid to come home, nothing wrong with that. Because I was just telling my wife, I was like, oh, I won't take a food delivery to this place at this hour again. But getting that person for the ride home made it worth it. And now I get to select my challenges a little bit differently too, because now doing goods and services plus people, you wanna huh, you wanna diversify. It's like a financial advisor over here. I'm diversifying. Yeah. A little tired this morning. Got up earlier than usual. Fell asleep while I was journaling. But I got up because I wanted a podcast. I wanted to throw you guys an Unfiltered Friday, as it's been a hot minute since I dropped the supervillains. But I got busy working over the weekend and trying to reach these bonuses, and it's just been bananas. But I've got to take a moment, have a little breather. It's raining outside. I can hear it, which means good for delivery, which I'm going to be doing here in a little bit. Um, but yeah, got up early so I could hit you guys with a little bit of Unfiltered Friday. And hopefully this summer, even though it's just beginning, we'll get it on track, start getting some interviews, get myself settled, um, my sleep on track. I mean, the other night I was out till 3 in the morning doing people because it was hitting, it was hopping. So now I got to figure out what kind of combinations of good services and rides and days, what days hit for what, um, in an effort to optimize and, not waste gas, but make the most strategically, even if it means going out later on the weekends or having a couple of 3 a.m. evenings. Hey, if the money's there, the money's there. Gotta strike while the iron is hot. Yeah. However, yours truly needs to get on the road. Gotta go get my brakes fixed so I can get out and make that money. Everything requires money. But I also want to get out and make some connections. Uber some people. It's Friday night. Boom. And it'd be nothing more than my pleasure than to get people who need a ride home safely so they're not out there endangering the public themselves, you know, making smarter choices. I don't mind. So I'm going to practice it, and I highly suggest you practice it too. And what is that? That's that call to action we have at the end of every episode. And what is that? Come on. If you're a long-time listener, you should know it. Say it with me. If you're a first-time listener, repeat after me. And then you're going to go out and practice. And then you're going to do this every day. And together we're going to make the world a better place. So, for all the new people, go out and be the person you want to meet. Now, what does that mean? You want to meet cool people? Be cool. You want to be assholes? Well, go out and be one. Be a dick. Be a bitch. You'll run into one. And sometimes you're going to run into one either way. But don't let that, yeah. Don't let that be a reflection of you. I saw this in person yesterday. This lady, I was going into Nothing But Cakes to pick up an order for someone. There's a lady she's got her daughter with her. Daughter looks to be about 9 years old. Lady walks in the door in front of her daughter, doesn't open the door for her daughter, let the daughter in first. Kind of does one of these, like if you're watching, where you like push the door open to make sure she's going to get in, that it doesn't hit her. Um, and she was just so fucking rude to the cashier. I felt sorry for the cashier because she's like, I got this. And the girl brings out two and she's like, I'm supposed to have three. And do you guys have the bags? And just was like on and on, just ugh, gross. And this is this little girl's example. She's going to grow up to emulate that. Hopefully not. But I was able to step up to the counter next and hopefully make for a more pleasant experience and, you know, turn that around for her. Because she was a sweet girl working the register, just trying to do her job, being helpful, smiling, all the right things. But bitchy lady was just being entitled. Yeah. Which is like the most unattractive thing ever. Entitlement. So, new listeners, one more time. Go out and be the person you want to meet. Long-time listeners and new-time listeners, Richard Chicho, every other identity I have with inside me. All together now. One, two, three. Go out and be the person that you want to meet. Till next time, peace.
Asteroid of fear.